We've all been told that these are the ultimate tool for equity. The fair sticks, the no opt-out sticks. We use them because we want to hear from every student and keep everyone on their toes. But let's be honest, have you ever pulled a student's name and the student just stares at you like a deer in headlights? Or they say, wait, can you repeat the question? While the rest of the class sighs because the momentum just died. Today I'm sharing 3 reasons why I actually stopped using popsicle sticks, and why I recommend that other teachers reconsider using them too. And the 3 specific strategies I use instead to build deeper thinking, better discussions, and actual engagement that doesn't feel like a game of Russian roulette. When I started teaching, I loved my sticks. I thought I was being fair. But here's the reality. Our students are smart. Especially in math class, they understand probability. If you have 25 students and you pull 1 stick, every other student in that room just did the mental math. I have a 1 in 25 chance of being next. I'm safe. Instead of encouraging everyone to be ready, random calling often gives the other 24 students a license to disengage. I call it the odds game. They aren't thinking about math. They're thinking about the likelihood of actually being caught. The first big issue with those popsicle sticks is that they actually phase out your most engaged students. Think about your high flyers, the kids who always have their hands up. When you rely solely on the sticks, they stop trying because they know you won't call on them unless their stick appears. But even worse, for our students who struggle, the fair stick is a source of pure anxiety. They aren't processing the ratio or the geometry. They're processing the panic of being called on without a safety net. So what's the shift? I call it a warm call. Instead of a cold call with a stick, I move to warm calling. While students are working independently or in pairs, I circulate. I look for a specific strategy. Maybe Gemma used a number line while Marcus used an area model. I'll lean in and whisper, hey Gemma, I love how you represented this on the number line. In 2 minutes, I'm going to ask you to share that with the whole class. Cool? Why does that work? This lowers anxiety for special ed students and multilingual learners. It guarantees a high quality response too. It keeps the momentum of the lesson moving. It empowers students to share real engagement. And on to the second point, as teachers, honestly, most of us are a bit of control freaks. I know that I am, and you probably are. You're a teacher. And you should be. We have limited amount of time to get our kids to a specific mathematical objective, to get them to mastery. Popsicle sticks take the steering wheel out of your hands though. When you pull a random name, you have no idea what's about to come out of that student's mouth. They might bring up something totally unrelated, or worse, share a misconception that actually confuses the other 24 kids, just as they were starting to get it. Now, don't get me wrong, sharing misconceptions can be valuable, but we want to be thoughtful about which misconceptions we share. So what's the shift we can make? We can move to selecting and sequencing. This is the 5 practices framework in action, if you've heard of that before. If you want the conversation to move from concrete to abstract, we can't leave that to a popsicle stick. Here's what can work instead. We monitor the students. We walk around while they're working. We then intentionally select. We choose 3 students with specific strategies that we want to highlight. And then we think about sequencing. We decide the order. For example, maybe I show a drawing first, then partial products, and then the standard algorithm. Engagement for connection is the goal, not just engagement for engagement's sake. And on to the third reason, and it's probably actually the most important. The sticks don't actually encourage discussion, real discussion. They encourage reporting out. When I pull a stick, the student answers me. It's a one-to-one interaction. The rest of the class is just an audience. But in a true math community, students should be learning from each other, not just from the teacher. If I pull a stick and get a one-word answer, the thinking stops there. So what's the shift? The shift is the turn and talk. Instead of one student talking at a time, I want at least half of the class talking at the same time. I use a turn and talk before I ever ask for a whole class response. And here's what that looks like. I give a specific question and often a specific sentence frame. Instead of talk about the problem, I think about something like, hey, explain to your partner about the strategy you used. Why did you use that strategy? And maybe use this sentence frame. I used this strategy because. Now, when you finally do ask for a share out, the students are confident because they've already test driven their idea with a peer. You weren't getting a random guess, you're getting a processed thought. Now look, I'm not saying we have to go ahead and throw those sticks out in the trash bin immediately. They can be helpful, especially for low stakes moments. Deciding which group is going to share out their thinking during a project? Great strategy. Quickly assigning roles for a gamified activity. Perfect. Thinking about who's going to be the line leader. Fantastic. But checking for understanding or driving a mathematical discourse, the sticks are too blunt of a tool for such a surgical job. So I'm suggesting that we move away from the odds game and towards intentionality. A warm call to build confidence. Select and sequence to drive mathematical narratives. Turn and talks to ensure 50 to 100% of our kids are thinking, not just the 4% represented by a popsicle stick. So here's the challenge. Tomorrow, leave that jar on your desk. Don't touch it. Try to warm call 3 students during your main activity and see how the energy in the room shifts. If you felt that frustration of a deer in headlights look after pulling a stick, let me know in the comments. What else do you use to keep your students engaged? If this helped you think differently about your classroom routine, even a little bit, hit that subscribe button. I'm all about practical, do-it-tomorrow strategies for math teachers. Thanks for doing the hard work that you do every day. I'll see you in the next one.